Hi, welcome back. On this video here, I want to show you how to start communicating with MySQL using PHP. Now, one thing that I forgot to tell you in the last video is that you can always go back, and it's common sense, but it might not be common sense if you are very new to PHP. You can always go back, PHP myadmin, of course. I need to put myadmin. You can always go back to where you were before and edit stuff. So you can update the information that was there. So always make sure that if you want to go back and update stuff, you can. Just make sure that you come here and you click whatever you need to click here, and you can even update some of this information if you want. You click on the table, you edit, and then you can update stuff. All right. So anyway, now that we're done with that, I just didn't want you to think that every time you make something, you cannot come and update it. Just in case, I wanted to give you that information. But anyway, so let's go ahead and create a markup, because now that we have a database and now that we have a table with some data in there, we need to actually have PHP communicate with MySQL and find out something about this data or create new data, right? So it would be fun to do that. So let's do that. All right, so let's come here somewhere and right click on it, and let's create a folder. I'm gonna call this folder MySQL. MySQL. All right, perfect. So I have this folder here called MySQL. I'm gonna right click this folder. I'm gonna create new file, and I'm gonna call this login. The reason why I'm gonna separate this from everything else here is because I want you to have these files just in case you have any issues connecting with MySQL. I'm gonna click enter. I have this login here. Actually, it's gotta be login.php. Enter. There we go. All right. So we need some markup for this, and I will be using this markup. So I'm just gonna copy that. I should have did a save as on that file, but that's fine. Let's go to login, save it. All right. One last thing that I'm going to do here, and this is just personal preference, is that I'm gonna go to get bootstrap. The reason why I'm gonna do this is because I want some styles for my form. I don't like my forms to be completely empty with no styles. I want a little style, not too much, but not too little. All right. So I got a course on here on the platform Udemy about get about Bootstrap. All right. So if you like what I do here, you can always look up that course and learn something about it. All right. So I'm just gonna link this, and this is basically a framework that's gonna make your applications responsive, and then it's gonna make it really nice. And you're gonna see in a minute how we can make a form look really good. All right. So now that it's linked, I don't need this anymore. I just need a browser. Oh, whatever. That's fine. Let's just open it up again. All right. What I need here is a markup, so I'm going to do that. All right. So basically, what I linked here is a framework. Okay. Don't get it confused. This is just gonna make my application responsive, and your application if you want to do that, and we'll make it nice and pretty if you know how to use it. So I'm gonna create a form. I'm gonna first create a div here with a container class. You don't have to use this, by the way, if you already know how to create a form and you don't want to just go ahead and use this what I'm using right now. That's fine. I suggest you use it so that way you can learn something new. All right. So I created a div with a class of container, and inside here I'm gonna create another div with a class of, it says sits. These classes that I'm putting right here has to do with this framework here. They're already predefined inside this framework, and they're gonna make my application more responsive, and they're gonna put some classes into them. All right, put some styles into my application, to my markup, or HTML if you want to call it that. So I'm gonna have a form here inside this. This is basically the grid class. Okay, for those of you that know HTML. And I'm gonna create another div here with a class of form group. All right, and an input field with a class of form control. All right, fine. Actually, that's fine. All right, form control and this div right here. As a matter of fact, I should have created a label for my inputs, but I'm gonna do that later. So I'm gonna create the second input. It's gonna be password. Excuse me. And this one here, let's create a label for it because it looks really bad. Label for username. Let's call it username here. And let's copy that one into the next one. And let's just make this a little bit better. All right. This is because my resolution is so big, so that way you guys can see what I'm doing. That's why it looks like this, but I can make it smaller like this and then fix it up. All right. Hopefully you are seeing this. I'm just gonna fix it up real quick. And all right. So let's just put it right here. That's fine. This form here has a problem. Let's just fix this real quick. Right here, this is form control. Let's just fix that, and let's just fix it right there. All right. So now we need to put another class here. Well, actually, we're done with the classes here, but this is a password label. Password label. Jeez. All right. And this, of course, has to be password too. We are getting everything ready to be sending this via method, via post. Okay. And if this is here, that's fine. There we go. Scary, right? Scary. Make sure that this will go to the same page, login.php. And first, the username field, we need to pass in the username to the post super global. And this one, we need to pass in the password. Should know how to do this already. Excuse me. All right. All right. I'm losing my voice. Sorry, guys. All right. So, all right. So we need a submit button here. Okay. Login form. Let's make a button here. Submit. And I'm doing this a little faster. I'm not explaining much since you already should know how to do this HTML. If you don't, you need to do that, because if you want to know about PHP really good, you need to know how to implement it with HTML. You don't have to be an expert on HTML, but you got to know a little bit. So let's make this button called submit. Let's name it. Let's put a name attribute here called submit. Let's put a value here of submit with a capital S, and that would make my button really. Oh, and let's just do another class here just to make a button look good. So if I go back here and I see my button is black right here, and it's actually sending get information here. If you notice, this sending in the URL is sending some information, and we talked about that already. So, but anyway, that's another topic. Let's give it some class here. btn primary will make this look good with this framework. All right. Nice, right? That takes a lot of classes to make that little button like that. A lot of styles, and we were able to do it with only 2 classes. All right, with this framework. So we created a markup now, and on the next lecture, I think this lecture is already big enough, we will create a way for this to submit and receive this data via post in the other side. Right? So perfect. Thank you so much for watching this, and hopefully you get this down. This will be in your course exercise files, but don't get lazy. Do it. It will benefit you. Thank you so much, and I see you in the next lecture.